Claro, I had nothing to hide after my absence. But the remnants of wrecked machines within my body alerted the hardware. An unwholesome security sullied my return. These pieces of personal history, stored like fossils in the layers of muscle and fat, in the lymph and marrow, in the naturally mineralized tissues of my bones, submicroscopic, so small and yet so significant. Exist undetectable to those who pass me on the street. Indeed, to the unsuspecting passerby I have no significance. I make no impression now that I wander once again among the living. But the electromagnetic portal of the airport metal detector took notice. It sang a staccato warning. Should I have stepped back and said no thank you? Should I have refused to pass through yet another barrier set up against the ill will of foreigners? When what's left of me has already survived so much. I'm a citizen, aren't I? I have all the necessary forms, the notarizations, receipts, the approval of physicians and embassies, the constitutional rights handed down by generations. Should I have said fuck you to the whole shebang? Yes. But that's what I tried to do, remember? I jumped. I did, but that accomplished little but the temporary dislocation of all of my significant joints, the exposure of pavement to my feces, and a concussion that left me comatose for nearly a year. As to the present situation under the sudden scrutiny of agents deputized by our fearful society to protect passengers at all costs, where on earth would I have gone instead? Once in line, you proceed forward. You do not turn back. You can't fault me for hypocrisy when no place of exile exists, my friends. And I don't want to return to prison. Besides, a sad, deviant longing accompanied that procedural search, and it, too, went unnoticed. My craving passed through the superficial inspection of my physical self, and my examiner, just doing his job, found nothing. Yet he succeeded in the confiscation of my privacy, of my dignity and liberty as an American, and he aroused in me a subtle lust, still difficult so many days later to dismiss. Oh, and when the young man finished putting down my donated clothes and sent me again through the metal detector into the vast wilderness outside customs, its beeping for the fourth time elicited only an impersonal shake of his head. He allowed me to proceed, withheld further free massages, and pulled off his latex gloves one by one and dropped them into the wastebasket before turning his attention to other travelers, all impatient sighs and weary faces. And then a stout woman in uniform jabbed me with the blunt end of a plastic club and told me to move on. How can I move on? How can I forgive? I have lost a year of my life. I awaken to find that I have nothing to awake to, and I can only remember the final year and a half of my youth, perverse and violent to its jagged, gooey core, a pornography of random images perpetuated by this same blog. I write now to find others of my kind, to see if anyone out there, anyone survives that doctor's experiments. There may be no one. In my defense, I do seem to have a uniqueness in that regard. Yet I know from a year without dreaming the touch of death I so desired. Are all of them dead? Have any of them survived? I know no one like me, and yet, as long as I live, I will continue to search.